This work was actually done between both the CSIRO and the Bureau of Meteorology. And the idea is that this is one of three parts of a review of drought policy that is still underway. So the first part was mainly looking at the biophysical aspects of exceptional circumstances. The second part was looking at the economic impacts, and this was done by the Productivity Commission. And the third part was looking at social impacts, and this was done by an expert social panel. The final two reports have been published in draft form, and they are being considered by the government alongside the one that we did. So the one that we did, as I indicated, it's called an assessment of the impact of climate change on the nature and frequency of exceptional climatic events. And what I'll step you through today is, firstly, just an overview of recent climatic trends in both temperature and rainfall, the methodology that we use to determine how these events might increase in future, and indeed the results of that study and some conclusions. So firstly, just a bit of an overview about recent climatic trends. There has been a warming in Australia of almost 1 degree since 1950, with more heat waves, fewer frosts, and the pattern of warming is shown on the map on the bottom left here, where the darkest red colours indicate the greatest amounts of warming. And so these warmings are of the order of 0.6 of a degree per decade over the period 1950 to 2006. You can see a small patch of blue up here, which is a cooling over northwestern Australia, and that occurs at the same place as a very large increase in rainfall, as shown in green over the last 50 years or so. So all of the green areas are increases. This is over much of the western half of Australia, with the exception, of course, of parts of southwest, and there have been decreases in rainfall, as shown through the yellow through to the brown areas in much of eastern Australia. Significant decreases along the east coast. Now, in addition to that, there's been sea level rise of 70 millimetres over the last 50 years. But let's look at the last 12 years, because I think we're all very much aware of the fact that there have been very, very large rainfall deficiencies in some areas. Now, the colour coding here, we've got sort of light green through to dark green, indicating above average rainfall over this 12-year period, and that's very clearly evident over much of northern and western Australia, again with the exception of the southwest, where there's been very much below average rainfall, as shown by these colours. The darkest orange is the driest 12-year period on record. You can see small patches of that in the southwest, very large patches, of course, in parts of Victoria and southeast South Australia, and also in parts of eastern Tasmania. Also very much below average rainfall over southeast Queensland. And I've got to highlight all of those things here. So it's been a very unusual period. Now, what are the causes of these observed changes in climate? Well, we've got more confidence in what we can say about temperature than what we can say about rainfall. So firstly, with regard to the warming trend since 1950, it's very likely due to increases in greenhouse gases. And this is true at both the national level and the global level. There's more uncertainty about the causes of regional rainfall changes. So let's take the northwest first, where there's been an increase in rainfall. This may be due to just natural variability, or it may be due to a shift in the monsoon rainfall due to increases in aerosols over Asia, which affects the monsoon circulation. Now, this theory about the Asian aerosols is fairly rudimentary at this stage. There is one peer-reviewed paper that's been published on the subject, but it is a little controversial. Now, with regard to the decreases in rainfall in southern Australia, it is very clear from the pressure records and the rainfall records that the weather patterns are moving further south. Now, the causes of that change are due to both natural variability and increases in greenhouse gases. In the southwest of the country, it's about a 50-50 split between those two causes. There's research going on at the moment with regard to the causes of rainfall changes in southeastern Australia. It's uncertain as to whether the proportion of natural versus human-induced variability may be 50-50 or whether it's some slightly different proportion. So we'll have to wait and see. That's work being done under the South East Australian Climate Initiative.